Welcome to day 2 of the Virginia Tank and Maxi Sew Along, sponsored by the Fab Clique Fabric Shop. Now we've cut out our pattern, and we've cut out all the pieces, and we've looked at our beautiful fabric that we got from the Fab Clique, and we are ready to go. Now, yeah, what's today? Today's tank top day. Let's do it.
All right, so here we are. We are ready to work on day 2, which is the tank top. Now, whether you're making a dress or just a standard tank, you're going to do the very same things except for hemming. If you're doing a standard tank or a maternity tank, you're going to either band or hem according to the instructions. I'll be hemming this one, all right? If you're doing the dress, you're going to do everything that I'm doing here up until the finish of the bottom. You won't be finishing the bottom of that tank. I hope that that makes sense. So what I've done is I have the front here and the back here. Now, if you remember what I decided I was going to do, I was going to do a low front with a high back. And just to remind myself, I put a clip right here so I could remember that this was the back. So mark it in some way just so you know, just because I've been there and I forget what's what and then I end up with a shirt that's not right. Okay, so this is the back. So what we're going to do first is we're going to open up our front, okay, and we're going to open up our back. We're going to match up the shoulder seams and the side seams. Let me get my clips. You can use clips or pins. It doesn't really matter. Totally your call. And we're going to match up our shoulder seams, and we're going to give it a clip. And then we can match up our side seams. Then we're going to head over to our sewing machine, and we are going to, using a 3/8 inch seam allowance, we are going to stitch across the shoulders and stitch down the side seams. So here we are. We have done both the shoulder seams and the side seams. Now what we have to do, this is really quick, we just have to work on our armbands and our neckband. Let's start with a neckband, okay? So first what we're going to do is we're going to take the short ends of our neckband and we're going to place them right sides together. And we're going to stitch across the short end. We're going to do the same thing with our armbands. Right sides together, and we'll stitch across the short end for all 3 of these pieces. All right, let's do that real quick. Here's an armband. Here's an armband, and here's a neckband. All right, let me get my iron and my pressing mat. Put that out of the way. We're going to do the same thing to all 3 of these pieces. All right, so let's start with the neckband. All right, so what we're going to do, is we want to fold this in half. So we want to fold the raw edges together all the way around. And then we're going to also give that a press. All right, now being careful not to unfold it, let's place a clip. This is the seam. Let's place a clip at the seam. Okay, that's the back, center back. So now let's find the center front. Now let's find the quarter points. Okay, making sure it's all looking good. Let's do the other side. Okay, so there's our neckband. Let's repeat this exact same thing on our armbands. Okay, our armbands are done and our neckband is done. The next thing we want to do is we want to grab our top, and we'll start with the neckband. All right, and we want to find, here we go, the center back and the center front. So we'll match the shoulder seams to find the center back. And we'll match the shoulder seams again to find the center front. Now that we've done that, let's open it back up. We need to find the quarter points. Don't assume that the shoulder seams are the quarter points because most often they are not. So we're going to match up the front and back clips. And as you can see, our quarter point is here and our shoulder seam is here. So just as I suspected. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to quarter my armholes as well. I'm going to place one at the shoulder seam and a clip at the side seam. Then I'm going to match those clips and find the quarter points. This is a time where you can use the shoulder and the side seam as quarter points. Okay, so let's find the other side. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other armhole. Here we are. Now you could do this all in a separate step. Like you can totally complete the neckband first and then come back and quarter your sleeves. I just like to do it all at once. So when I go to the sewing machine, I'm going to sit and do the neckband and then the armbands all in one sitting. I feel like it saves time. But you can do them separately. You can do the neckband, then you can do one arm, and then you can do the other arm, however you want to do it. Okay, let's put this front bodice up. Whew, we got all kinds of clips here and there and everywhere. All right, there we go. Now let's grab our, I'm going to take this off because I know that the high is the back. Okay, so here we are. All right, we're going to start with the neckband. Now let's grab our neckband piece and let's find the seam. Where is the seam? There it is. All right, here's the seam. That is our center back point right here where this seam is. So I'm going to turn it this way and I want it right sides together. So I'm going to match up those raw edges and put them right sides together. So let's do the same. You want to make sure that your neckband does not get twisted, okay? So you can now take your quarter points. You can go just all the way around. So you can do the back, center back, and then the center front, and then do the quarter points, or you can just go in a circle just to make sure you're not all twisted. Okay, and now my other quarter point. All right, so now my neckband is ready to be sewn. So you can go over to the sewing machine or serger, and you can use a stretch stitch or your serger, and you can stitch this on. Be careful that you're not stretching the bodice, the actual neckline. You're only stretching the neckband just enough. So don't overstretch it. You don't want to get all wrinkly and bubbly. You don't want that. You want to just stretch it enough to even it out as you sew, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put my armbands on. All right, so let's find on our armband the seam again. Here it is. We want this seam to be on the underarm, so it's hidden. So I'm going to match this seam with the underarm side seam. All right, then get it all facing the same direction, and I can do the shoulder seam and then my quarter points, matching up those raw edges. Okay, just make sure that you're not twisted, because being twisted is bad. Okay. All right, there's one arm. Let's do the other arm. Again, I'm finding my seam, and I'm going to match up the raw edge of that seam with the raw edge of the side seam. Okay, then I'm going to make sure I'm not twisted, and go to the shoulder seam. And then I'll do my quarter points. Okay. And so this is how I do it. I grab the side seam and the shoulder seam, and I just kind of pull them together just to make sure nothing's twisted. And then I match up the raw edges. Let's do it with the other side. Okay. There we go. All right. So now, here's what we've got. We've got our armbands on, we've got our neckband on. Now I'm going to go to my serger. You can use a 3/4 or 3/8 inch seam allowance on your, with a stretch stitch on your regular machine. And I'm going to put all these bands on. All right, so here we go. All right, here we are. Move my clips out of the way. Let's get our iron out. And we need to give this a really good press. Get everything going the direction that it should go. So it's not, you can see how it's kind of wrinkly. We don't want a wrinkly neckline. So if you choose not to press, you're gonna have a wrinkly neckline, all right? So don't skip the pressing. Okay, once we've pressed it, it's highly recommended that you go to your sewing machine or your cover stitch machine and you, what am I trying to say? You top stitch, there it is. That's what I'm trying to say. I know a lot of people don't like to top stitch, and that's okay, but it does give a more professional look, and it makes sure that everything's going to stay looking nice. Okay, so you can already see that the little bit of pressing I'm doing here is making a huge difference with the way the arm bands and the neck band look. So don't skimp on the pressing, take your time. Right now, you can go to your cover stitch or use a stretch stitch, a long stretch stitch, or even a zigzag stitch, and you can top stitch all the way around the neckline and all the way around the armbands, all right? I'm gonna do that later, but what I wanna do now is talk about the hem. So let's look at the bottom of this. This is looking super cute. I'm very excited about it. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna flip this up so you can see the wrong side. I'm gonna grab my hem gauge and I'm going to fold my raw edge up 1 inch and press and clip. All right, let's head over to the machine and let's get this done. All right, so we are all finished with the hem. What I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna give it a press just to make it look all nice and fancy. Now, we have finished the tank. Just remember that if you're doing the tank part for a dress, you are not going to hem. So don't hem it if you're doing the tank part for the dress. But here we are. All I have to do is get my cover stitch and do some top stitching. And look how cute. I'm so excited to put this on. It is gorgeous. All right, let's move on to day 3.